We're good.
Okay, Johnny Ramirez, 11/2/1990, on Saturday morning, approximately 5:30 in the morning, had an altercation with law enforcement. After law enforcement officers with the Nash County Sheriff's Office received a call that Mr. Ramirez had been involved in a possible sexual assault with a female. At that time, law enforcement went to Modest Road, the same area that this Mr. Ramirez lives in, and upon approach of Mr. Ramirez pulled a weapon out, a AR-15 type looking weapon, and on commands of dropping the weapon, he did not. The officers had to defend themselves and ended up in the death of Mr. Ramirez. Any questions?
Yes, so his mom, we spoke to his mom, and she said that when he went out the home, he didn't have a firearm with him. Can you explain, where did he come out of, from the home, or where did you guys encounter him?
They encountered him on the road and then followed him into the yard. And then he never made it into the house. He was kind of in a parking lot, or maybe it's not a parking lot, but a more or less of a area of gathering that was kind of at the back of the place that he was staying at.
Did the officers have body cams on them?
They did have body cam, and we have got body cam, and that's one of the ways right now that the State Bureau of Investigation has the possession of those, and that will be released with the District Attorney's Office.
Have you had a chance to see the footage?
I have.
And what did you see?
I see what's consistent with what law enforcement is telling me. I can't get too in-depth into that because obviously that is what the District Attorney's Office will release at a later date.
And the suspect was in fact holding a real gun?
In fact, he was holding a real gun.
Was it loaded?
The gun was loaded.
Tim from ABC 11, how were you able to positively identify that Ramirez was in that vehicle?
The female subject that they had called in the sexual assault earlier had kind of coached law enforcement to where he was at.
When did the alleged sexual assault occur?
Around 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning, and it took time for law enforcement officers to get there. This was about 5:30 in the morning. Obviously, we have 543 square miles, and we only had 5 officers out, and 3 of them luckily come upon the scene. This could have been a very different scene than what it ended up as, and within about 15 minutes of the call, the law enforcement was on scene, and the lady that was sexually assaulted and her friends were the ones that then coached and told us more information. And upon the first call, there was a call that there was an AK-47 in the back seat of the car.
Have you released the names of the officers yet?
We have not at this time.
Okay, are you planning to do
We
this?
will release them, but that will be in consultation with the SBI and also with the District Attorney's Office.
And how long do you expect them to do administratively?
I can't say because, you know, I don't know how long it takes with the State Bureau of Investigation. Our internal investigation obviously will take a couple of weeks. The State Bureau of Investigation usually takes a month or something because obviously you got toxicology reports that's got to come back. You got autopsies, you got many, many different people to interview. It's a complex investigation. The reason we want to take our time with this to ensure that everything is done right and to make sure that everything has been covered so that there's not any allegations or anybody trying to substantiate something that is not factual.
There have been some concerns that CPR wasn't given at the scene. Can you confirm or deny if CPR was given to Mr.
I
Ramirez?
cannot. I was not at the scene. I came after I got the phone call about 5:30 in the morning. However, I do know the allegations that I heard is that EMS was not called immediately. They were, in fact, called immediately, and I think within about 14, 15 minutes, EMS was actually on the scene.
Were there shots exchanged at the scene of the crime? Because there were witnesses, neighbors of the person there that says that there were bullets that punctured their home?
There was bullets that did hit a home there. I think that was law enforcement bullets. It was not from the victim upon me looking at it, and I do not think that come from Mr. Ramirez.
How many times was Ramirez shot?
I can't say, the autopsy has not come back yet, and I can't give you a factual information on that.
And did I hear you say that deputies did identify themselves before shooting?
I'm sure, and plus the vehicles were marked Nash County Sheriff's Office vehicles. And when I arrived at the scene, the spotlights were still on the vehicle, one of the vehicles when I got there.
Flashing lights and all of that?
I have no idea about the flashing lights. When I got there, now some of them might have been turned off, or it was not a vehicle stop, so I don't know if blue lights were ever actually used, but I do know that there were spotlights on the vehicle illuminating it.
One of the
These were
concerns-
veteran officers, so I've watched the protocol of how our officers operate, and many years of service.
One of the concerns from the family is that it was that early in the morning. He probably wasn't aware that someone was behind him. Well, police were behind him. I'm sure deputies were behind him. So in an effort to protect himself, he got the gun out to see who it was. That is one argument coming from the family, that he was probably trying to protect himself. Your response to that?
My response to that is this is uniformed members of the Nash County Sheriff's Office. This was an ongoing dispute from earlier in the night. Anytime that you meet up with law enforcement, the last thing that you need to do, you need to comply with their demands. In this day's environment, you've seen the law enforcement officers, you've seen the state trooper that was shot last week. This is on everybody's mind. It's a different time in America right now. Everybody's on edge. Please, when you're stopped, and if I can stress this, stop, put your hands 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, turn the dome light on in the vehicle, and comply. It's very simple. You have to put yourself in the position of these law enforcement officers. I had a text 1:30 Sunday morning wanting to talk about deconfliction for law enforcement. I go back and say, it's easy to sit here and talk about deconfliction right now in this lighted room, but at 1:30 in the morning when somebody's pointing an assault rifle or shotgun at you, it's a different story. So if I can urge the public, go back to what should be taught in driver's ed. Stop the vehicle, turn the dome light on, put your hands 10 and 2, and comply with the law enforcement officer. If you disagree with the law enforcement officer, that's what court's about.
Sheriff, did the suspect in this case live at the home where the alleged assault took place, and what was the relationship between the alleged victim and the suspect?
I don't know how much relationship there was between the suspect and the victim. The victim did not live at the residence. The victim was not from there. I don't know what the relationship was. I don't know how they had encountered each other at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
And had you been called out to that property in the past?
I have not been called to that property, maybe for some calls, but this was no call of this. I mean, this was a call that there was a AK-47 on the back, a lady had been sexually assaulted, and that there was cocaine in the car. And that's why several cars went to the scene when that call came out. I mean, you can just imagine at 4:30 in the morning, everything's quiet, and then you get a call of this nature. That's obviously going to put any law enforcement officer on edge.
So you said it was the callers that had said that there was AK-47 as well as the cocaine?
That is correct.
How long have these deputies served with the sheriff's office?
Some of them 10, 15 years.
Is this their first deputy-involved shooting?
This is the first deputy-involved shooting that I've had in my career here with Nash County Sheriff's Office, and I think it's been many years before that before there was one. You know, we've got 100,000 people in this county, and I take pride in saying that's a pretty good track record. Very few murders, less than 3 a year, so I'm very proud of Nash County and its citizens, and we do what we can to protect the citizens. You know, we serve with the honor, compassion, and diligence, and we keep that at the forefront of what we're doing. And my thoughts go with the family in this situation. It's a bad situation for the family. It's a terrible situation for Mr. Ramirez. It's all around a bad situation. Law enforcement officers have to live with this. It's not like you go home and erase it and forget about it. It's a very trying situation for everybody. And my heart and prayers go out to them. Yes, ma'am.
Did the young man have any kind of prior convictions or arrests?
I don't think he did.
And how many total deputies do you have in the department? How many deputies do you have total?
85.
Okay. So you got 3 of those 85 out now.
It is, and it hurts, serving the community with that, because you think, well, 3 out of 85, but you got to think we have civil, we have narcotics, we have patrol, we have different areas that they're in, and this takes about a half or 3/4 if you squad away on a patrol squad.
Has Mr. Ramirez's DNA been collected for the sexual assault investigation?
I'm not sure about that. That's something that the SBI would have to pull, and believe me, when the State Bureau of Investigation and the coroner's office do these things, they do their stuff right, so it's just a waiting game with it.
Sheriff, will you talk about the firearm? Who did it belong to? Was it registered?
I'm not sure who the firearm belonged to. I didn't get into that part. As the law enforcement agency that was involved in the shooting, we as Nash County Sheriff's Office only doing an investigation on our internal matter, and that is still under investigation at this time.
Is there a reason why you don't want to name the deputies involved?
Sure, there's a couple reasons. One is what they're going through right now, and the second thing is we're trying to take care of their best needs where they are, and obviously you don't need the phone calls and the threats and things of that nature. I get those type things, they don't need them.
Follow up on the sexual assault, was there only one suspect in the sexual assault, or was it more than one?
It was one person involved.
You seem to indicate that there was more than one.
One
person.
female.
Yes.
They were, I think the female must have got back with another girl or two after this, and that's when they called law enforcement.
But you don't know if there was some kind of party going on or something like that? You said
I
you
have no
weren't sure
idea.
How
No.
that came together.
I do not.
And I may have missed this. Did you say Mr. Ramirez was sitting in his car when the deputies came upon him, or did they actually pull him over?
I don't know if he had just stopped. I think he was driving into the driveway and then had come to a stop.
Was there any sort of altercation or any discussion that went from the deputies as well as the suspect that ended up unfortunately getting shot? Was there any conversation between them?
There was conversation between them, but that is something that will be released later with the tapes. But as far as a hands-on altercation, there was not.
Could you describe for us what you saw in that footage?
I can describe what I saw at the scene when I walked up. I saw a white Tahoe vehicle there. I saw a AR-15 type loop weapon, and then I noticed looking at it closer that it was not. It was a 12-gauge shotgun capable of holding 3-inch Magnum shells, and it was laying at the back end of the Tahoe in the parking lot.
I don't know if you've answered this. Who did the vehicle belong to? Did you check on that?
I think that I did. Well, I didn't check on it. Communications had ran the tag because they already had the tag of the vehicle and who the suspect was, and it come back to the Ramirez family, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
So the AK-47 turned out to be a 12-gauge?
It was a 12-gauge 3-inch Magnum with multiple, with an extended magazine at the bottom of it.
Did Mr. Ramirez happen to have a past medical history?
Have no idea.
No.
So
That's all really I can release at this time due to the fact that State Bureau of Investigation is the chief leading agency, and this investigation is a dual investigation. Our investigation through the internal matters is through Nash County Sheriff's Office. The SBI does the other investigation, and the district attorney oversees that investigation. So any other questions would have to obviously be relayed to them.
What does Nash County Sheriff's Office plan to do in the future to prevent these type of unfortunate situations?
Just as I said right then, we need to teach the public, comply with law enforcement. Anytime that y'all are out at scenes and things, as I do, I try to be very open with the public. I try to do things to keep the public aware of what to do and when to do it. We've had these vehicle stop classes. I think we did one at Nash Community College a year or two ago with Edgecombe County with Sheriff Clee Atkinson. But as today, put this out here, what to do. I mean, it's very simple. That's why we've got a court system. If you disagree with it, don't run, don't fight, go to court.
So there's no doubt in your mind he knew he was dealing with law enforcement before he was shot?
Yes. I mean, when you've got marked vehicles there, you've got law enforcement officers giving commands.
Do you know how long the Ramirez family's been in this residence at all? Did you get a
I
sense of-
think for a while.
Okay.
And as again, I want to reiterate, my heart goes out to them. Great family. I spoke with the dad, just unreal family, and the friends up there, very tight-knit community. All right, thank you.